Okay, let's talk about how to think critically without overthinking everything. So, if this sounds familiar to you, like you try to think things through and suddenly you spiral, or you want to be thoughtful, you want to be wise, you want to be intentional, but instead you end up stuck and overwhelmed and you're feeling mentally exhausted and you're having like a mental breakdown about every possible outcome. And you wonder, like, how do I think clearly and critically without overthinking everything to death? This video is for you. Now, I want you to know that when it comes to overthinking, that happens because your brain is simply trying to protect you, not punish you. It believes if it can just predict every scenario, it will keep you safe. That's why your overthinking feels often like preparing. It's like I'm preparing for like the worst, or I'm preparing for like the future results. Or it feels like it's almost like a responsibility that you've got to like take on board. And so it makes sense, okay? Like I'm doing due duty to the goals that I have and to, the actions that I take. But oftentimes it is just not effective, okay? Because what ends up happening is that we end up doing nothing. And if anything, we're thinking less critically about the situation rather than smarter. So, why do we do this? Okay, why do we do this? Like I said, your mind is confusing thinking with solving. That's when you're like replaying things endlessly, but nothing actually gets resolved. Okay, all you have in your brain is mental clutter, not clarity. Or you're being conditioned to fear mistakes. So that's why you feel like you've got to, make the right choice so you can think your way into safety. Or thoughts feel very urgent. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got to fix it. I've got to predict it ahead of time. But critical thinking, like making a decision that has stemmed from critical thinking, has zero urgency. It's all about making a calm, wise, structured, and intentional choice, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in this video. And so what most people don't realize is that critical thinking is not excessive thinking. It's effective thinking. Okay? Overthinking is always fear-based. Critical thinking is clarity-based. Overthinking is spiraling out of control. Critical thinking is about simplifying things down to the core. Overthinking complicates things, but when you're thinking critically, it actually sorts and evaluates and ends a mental noise and makes your life feel so much better. And so I want you to stick with me because once you understand this difference, you're going to understand why overthinking is probably never giving you the answers that you truly were seeking, but critical thinking from here on will. So, critical thinking, understand, is going to bring you clarity. Overthinking is going to bring you chaos. Overthinking is all those what ifs, those worst case scenarios, replaying all those conversations, imagining things that you can't control, trying to feel like emotionally safe through mental effort. But critical thinking involves you asking yourself question, what is actually true in this moment? What is inside my control? What are my real, genuine options here? And what matters most to me? And what is my simplest next step? As you can probably tell, overthinking leaves you feeling more confused than when you started. Critical thinking leaves you really grounded and clear. Okay, what is true? What's in within my control? What are my options here? What matters most? And what is my simplest next step? Okay, if you're overthinking, it's going to drain your energy. Critical thinking is going to protect your energy. Overthinking is more like emotional noise, whereas critical thinking is mental order. And the cool thing is that critical thinking is actually a skill that anyone can learn. You don't need like a degree or a high IQ to think critically. We can all do it. You just have to follow a very simple structure. First, you have to separate the facts from the stories. Facts are neutral. Stories are like all those emotional interpretations. Most overthinking comes from like reacting to a story, not the fact. But what are the facts? Then you have to identify what you can control. There's not many things that we can control in this world, okay? Contrary to popular belief. You can control your actions, you can control your boundaries, and you can control your direction. You cannot control other people's thoughts or reactions or approval. We can't read anyone else's mind. But you can control the way you choose to think, okay? The decisions that you make, the actions that you take, your perspective, okay? Focus on what you can control. And then you simplify your options. Okay, critical thinking actually reduces options, it doesn't multiply it. When it comes to any situation that you want to apply critical thinking to, ask yourself, what are the top two options here? Three max. Not what are my 37 possibilities. Simplify. And then you evaluate based on your values, not fear. Overthinking is like, well, what if something goes wrong? Thinking is all about, does this align with who I want to be? Okay, is this true for me? Does this feel right to me? You decide and then you move on. Clarity always comes from action, okay, not from ruminating on things. But critical thinking, when you go through this process, is going to help you think better and faster and more confidently. And it really makes your life just so much more amazing. Because when you're thinking critically about any situation in this world, you stop taking things personally, you make decisions faster, you break the cycles of like people pleasing, you stop those emotional mental spirals, you see situations clearly and for what they are, you stay very grounded, especially in conflict, and you build your confidence and you protect your time and peace, and you understand like yourself so much better. And you get to communicate more effectively because you're only focused on simplifying things, keeping things simple so that you solve real problems instead of just imaginary ones. And so the truth here really is that when your thinking becomes clearer, okay, more critical in a positive way, okay, your life becomes easier. Critical thinking, okay, rather just assuming and taking everything for granted or assuming everything is true that you hear, it's a form of self-trust. You have your own back. It's emotional maturity. It's leadership. It's a person who decides, I'm no longer getting stuck in a mental loop. I'm going to decide, what is true for me. I'm going to have my life be simplified. Clarity comes from simplicity. Okay, you're going to be someone who evaluates things without spiraling. Facts first, my friends, feelings second. And you don't need certainty to make a powerful decision. You've got to choose what is aligned to you. Okay? So this week, just practice, like in order to get to this habit of critical thinking. When you catch yourself overthinking, ask yourself, what are the actual facts here? Okay? All you need is the facts. Write them down. Okay? What is in control for you? How do you want to proceed? And just choose one action. Okay? Because your future self is ideally very clear and steady and grounded. Without the spiraling, without the overthinking, without the mental noise. Understanding that you can always critically think about any situation. Okay? It's going to remove the overwhelm for you. It's going to help you trust your thinking and your decisions when you move through life in this calm rather than forced way. Okay? You get to choose thoughts that support you. You get to choose thoughts that simplify rather than complicate your life. If you want more help with this, definitely check out my guide. It's a free guide, 5 thought shifts that will help you get out of your own way. It's in the description below. But in a nutshell, when it comes to any thinking, overthinking, critical thinking, okay, it's not about thinking less. It's about thinking more effectively, thinking differently. Critical thinking is so cool because it calms your mind, it sharpens your decisions, and it makes your life so much easier. It gives you clarity that overthinking will never ever give you. Okay, it's like you're discerning things. Okay, and once you learn this skill, okay, once you learn this skill, you stop drowning in all the, like the chaos out there, and you start living with intention in a way that feels true to you. Okay, and from here on, when you make choices from this angle of critical thinking, okay, those decisions will feel more aligned to you. Okay, and you can use this skill, you can use this strategy for every future clear decision you make beginning today. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Take care, and I can't wait to catch you in the next video.